Welcome to ACM's Vault of Cult. My name's Andy. This is the movie podcast where we take a film from the past, usually the 80s or 90s, that some of us, usually me, think should be a classic or at least a cult classic, but kind of goes under the radar or maybe just got bad reviews and generally disliked by a lot of people. Usually I pick the film and show it to somebody who hasn't grown up with it or watched it a lot over time and see whether they like it, or maybe it's just nostalgia has glinted in my eyes, so I think it should be a classic when it shouldn't. We've done a lot of these. I really enjoyed it, and we're going to mix things up for maybe not every episode from now on, but certainly for a lot of them, where people are going to show me a film I haven't seen, that they love an older film, maybe they grew up with it, or like in the case of this one, discovered it a few years after it came out, but he certainly enjoyed it a lot. We're going to start with 1987's should-be classic, starring Kyle MacLachlan, The Hidden, a movie that I had barely even heard of. I'd seen the poster knocking about and maybe seen it in video stores, but not really grabbed my attention. I watched it. I certainly enjoyed it, and I had a conversation with James Rowe from King Street Cinema, who selected it for this episode. And that chat is coming up right now.
In a span of 12 hours, I've got 5 bodies, not counting Miller, who dies because he runs out of blood. A stripper screws some guy to death, steals his car, and takes off. All of this in 12 hours. I want to ask you, am I crazy? Or does this seem just a little bizarre? Yeah, it's a little bizarre.
James, thanks again for joining us. A bit different this time. You've selected a film for me. We haven't done this before, have we? Or...
I don't think so. This is the first time we've done this. I've said, we should see this.
Yeah, so I'm sort of in season 3 now. I'm going to call it season 3, and I'm going to mostly, episodes come up and we do things, but mostly turn the tides, and people are going to throw films at me I haven't seen. This is a really interesting one. I did watch it after you mentioned it, but we're about to watch it again to refresh ourselves.
Yeah.
But do you want to just give us some of your history of the film and why you chose it for me?
Okay, so this is a film that I did not see when I was young, but it was a film that was always about, and I always looked at it and thought, I need to see this movie. And yet it was one that just skipped me by until about 15 years ago, when I saw it, finally said, right, sat down, watched the movie. And it's one of those rare occasions where you watch a film from the past that you didn't see when you were younger, and you watch it and you go, wow, yes, this is brilliant. I'm feeling exactly how I'm pretty sure I would have felt if I had seen it when I was younger. And that's a really rare thing. It's just a great movie. And after I'd seen it, I was just going around asking people, have you seen this film? If you haven't, you've got to see it. Yeah,
it's one you recommended to me a few months ago now, not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I went out, I bought a Blu-ray, I put it on, I really enjoyed it. And it's one that I'm looking forward to watching again already. Normally it takes a year or so for me, at least, to want to watch a film again. And we talked about it before. We'll do this podcast, and it gave me the idea really to properly go the other way now. We've done a lot of them, and people throw films at me, and I think this is the perfect one to start with. We haven't done that much research really, have we? We're just going to talk about the film. There's a commentary on the Blu-ray I haven't listened to either, but I think we'll just talk about our feelings on it and the reaction after watching it.
Sure.
So we probably will do spoilers.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it and you feel you don't want it spoiled, watch the movie now.
Yeah.
We'll play the trailer. The film is longer than the trailer, so pause the podcast and then afterwards listen to what's coming up when we discuss the should-be classic.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Something strange is happening to some ordinary people.
Yeah, that's Jack. Real nice man. What do you do, rob a bank?
He's a law-abiding taxpayer minding his own business.
Killed 12 people, wounded 23 more, stole 6 cars, most of them Ferraris.
If anybody deserves to go that way, sure the hell's him.
I worked homicide for 13 years.
I have never seen anything like this.
You trying to tell me that she's part of this? want them now. Explanation won't help you. I want to know why it takes 15 shots to take down some sold-out stripper. Why 3 law-abiding citizens all of a sudden go crazy and start killing people. We're talking spacemen here. Something gets in his way, he kills it. He finds a body, gets inside, uses it to move around. Try for one of the tires. Hey, but this is easy when I shoot one. Bye. I guess a career in the police didn't really prepare you for this, did it?
The hidden.
You think it's over now? You're wrong.
The Hidden. I enjoyed that, James.
Yes, that was really good.
Yeah. Okay, now released in 1987, it had a $5 million budget and made $9 million. So,
There you go.
So
basically a success. Yeah,
We'll say that.
a small success.
Yeah. 7 out of 10 on IMDb, 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd,
Yeah.
and 74% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, so it's an above average movie.
Yeah, that's pretty good for this style of film. And just what I like about it, but I'm not sure it would help with the film, is it's not overly advertised as a sci-fi.
No, absolutely. Actually, I think we just watched the trailer as well as the film, and in the trailer I don't think there's any of the really sci-fi bits in. It's more sold as a how is this happening mystery type thing.
Yeah.
Rather than sci-fi aliens.
Yeah, but from the word go, I mean, 10 minutes in, it's kind of clear.
Yeah, it's not human. Something otherworldly is going on supernaturally.
And I'm not sure if it's the actual poster, but as we're doing this, it's on the title screen of the Blu-ray. It's the cover of the Blu-ray. It's that it almost looks like the 50s B-movie style.
Yeah.
So that's hinting at maybe like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Absolutely. I think as well. I think it's more they go more the horror route than sci-fi necessarily, with like trying to sell it a bit more. So it's like action horror type thing, which were very big at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's not really got any big stars in it. Watching it, there's so many character actors we recognise.
Absolutely.
I thought at the time Carl McLaughlin would have been a bit bigger, but he'd really done Dune and Blue Velvet, and that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
I'm guessing, this is just a guess, that maybe he came from the stage. I don't know, or just young.
He's very young. I mean, I'm sure he did do some stage work. I'm absolutely certain of it. But yeah, he was 26 or 7 when this film came out. So yeah, he was a young guy.
Yeah, should we talk a little about his character, the FBI agent?
Yeah.
Well, all the crimes, and they're after this initial person, which we'll discuss soon. And the FBI agent sort of just appears to help, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Shows up, helps the cop. We'll talk about the cop's the main star, I suppose, when this came out. But because in retrospect, it feels more. Yeah,
I mean, he'd been in bigger films like Flashdance, and was probably his name is Michael Nouri. He was probably looked at as being the casting agents and everyone making movies that are coming up at that time in the 80s as a really big name, as a name that should be a much bigger name than is now known. And I think his career just didn't go that way.
I mean, having a quick look on the list of films he's in, he pops up in films more recently like The Terminal. He was in The Proposal, but I don't think he went on to be the leading man in much else.
No, that's right.
And I did read on IMDb that he was offered the role of Briggs in Lethal Weapon, which Mel Gibson took.
Same year as this film.
So it looks like he took this over that.
Yeah.
But you don't know, things could have happened.
Sure.
It might not even be true,
Indeed. But I do get the idea. It does feel like he was really trying out for people, trying to be pushed, as a leading man.
Yeah.
And it just didn't just didn't work out that way really in his career. Sadly, which is how it goes for most people.
I mean, it's a different era, but possibly he'd have been a bit old to be the leading man just after this film. Because I'm guessing he's a fair bit older than Mel Gibson was at this point. I don't know. It's the 80s. Everyone looks older. Yeah,
I'm sure he is older, but I wouldn't have thought too much more. Maybe 5 years, something like that. Maybe. But yeah, I think he looks a little older than he actually is. Yeah, because he looks like he's about 40, and he's probably not.
Yeah. I was thinking about that at the time.
I think he's probably about early 30s or something.
Okay. Yeah. But and the fact he's playing this, he's been on the force for 13 years. He does say that. So yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, we don't know. It's remembered more for Kyle MacLachlan, who's his third film. Interesting career. Worked the two films were with David Lynch, and then Twin Peaks is kind of what he's known for. So
yeah, and that's coming up just not long after this. Yeah. A couple of years later, they would have been filming it. Yeah,
so I don't know whether he'd have taken a step, because at the time it's not like now. Movies are a lot bigger thing than TV. I'm assuming he was doing well in movies, but working with David Lynch, Twin Peaks is the way to go. So that's sort of different for the time. But the connection of being an FBI agent in both.
Absolutely.
And he's very, very similar. I mean, I sort of joked while we were watching it that maybe to sell this in some foreign language companies, they'd advertise it to look like a Twin Peaks film.
Maybe, yeah.
Which is sort of thing that does happen. There's a few similarities with Twin Peaks as well. Another cast member as well, isn't there? Is there someone else in this who's in Twin Peaks? I remember thinking of something when I rewatched it. I can't think who it was.
I'm not sure.
I think one of the smaller characters was, but I can't think who it was. Yeah, I think there's...
I mean, I haven't seen Twin Peaks in a very long time. Yeah. And I hadn't actually seen this in a long time. So
possibly the first... In the beginning of the chase, the person they're chasing was in Twin Peaks as well.
Was he?
I think so.
You might be right about that, His name is sort of ringing a bell in the Twin Peaks world, but I can't quite place it right now.
For the initial 2 seasons of Twin Peaks, there's a lot of actors in there who've gone on to big things.
No, I have. Wasn't he? I do. I do believe. I do believe you're right, but still, it's all coming to me, but not quite there yet. Yeah. But
I think there's the two of them.
He was in jail in Twin Peaks. He comes back. Comes back. He's married to the older lady who works in the diner.
Okay. Yeah.
And he comes back and he's sort of pretending he's reformed, but he hasn't really.
That's it.
So I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen the original Twin Peaks.
If you haven't seen the original Twin Peaks, watch it.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch it after this podcast.
Yes.
So we've got those two, the leading guys, and it is a kind of buddy cop movie, isn't it?
100%. It is a buddy cop movie. It is at the time of the height of the buddy cop movies as well that it's coming out. So in 1987, late 80s, they're all over the place. It's the same year as one of the biggest of all time, Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ultimate seller. Is that you like buddy cop, you like movies with cop shooting.
Yeah.
High speed chases in cars.
That's what
big explosions.
I want to talk about the beginning of this movie in a second, because it's got it all in the first few minutes. Yeah. And to mention, the writer wrote Stakeout, which is a buddy cop movie.
It is. It is a very different buddy cop movie, but And after learning that and watching this, and then thinking of Stakeout, there are similarities in the writing. Absolutely.
Yeah. He also wrote Rush Hour as well, another buddy cop.
Right. There you go.
More recent, sort of 10 years after.
Yeah.
But the way this film starts, it starts black and white on security footage of a robbery. You pointed out at the time that the green writing that comes up kind of looks weird.
It looks like you're not sure what kind of movie this is going to be. That's unusual. That's a very unusual choice. So you're already set up with the feeling of what is going on in this movie. What is this movie going to be? Kind of thing, which is cool. It's a nice thing. I think it's they're not going safe on this film. They're not playing it. This is not a play it safe kind of movie. This is we're going to take a few risks with the whole genre, as it were.
Yeah, but I think that might be a thing at the time that confused people. People didn't know what it was, and for me now, looking at it, it's kind of what I like about it.
Yeah.
And it's not. I don't use them all over the place. I think it knows itself what it is and what it's doing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's well made. It's well put together. It doesn't run long. It doesn't have bits that are sort of like, you know, that whole horrible middle sort of laggy sort of thing. I think they did a really good job at cutting this film together.
Yeah.
And the story, the pacing of it's really great. And everything. Yeah.
But straight after the security footage, it shows the robbery then outside of the bank, and then high speed chase.
Absolutely. So we're in straight away. Cars running down, you know, LA. You know, it's you've got, you know, your scene. If you've seen any kind of movies like this, you know what kind of thing you're in for straight away from the beginning.
And it's the kind of thing that a few years later in the 2000s, whatever, it would have been spoofing scenes like this.
Oh, absolutely.
And around the same time, Naked Gun would have had scenes spoofing this.
Yeah.
There's a bit that stands out for me where some glass is being walked across the road and smashes through it.
I mean, those are... the film knows itself that it's making fun of those. Sort of, but it's not doing it in a, you know, a overly comedic parody way. It's sort of saying, you know, this is silly. Yeah. But it's not like...
Yeah, you know, establishing what it is.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it, because it's not balls out Zucker Brothers comedy.
No, it's not. Hey, we're a comedy.
Yeah.
It's just there's some comedic bits in there.
Yeah, which is it's an 80s thing, I think.
Very much so. Yeah.
And you know, I have listeners of this podcast and yourself will know I like to have my moan about, say, Christopher Nolan. Well, there's no humour in things. I think one of the reasons 80s films are loved so fondly is there's a lot of comedy in there. You look at a film like E.T., The Goonies, they're not out-and-out comedies, but there's lots of laughs in them.
Absolutely.
And it goes across with action movies, Arnie films.
Absolutely.
You know, Stallone.
This is it. All of that. It's all in there, you know. And I mean, and that might, in a way, sadly, might be a reason why it wasn't so popular as it was, because perhaps there was oversaturation of that. That we'd had too many of those kind of movies, and if it's not going to be one that's got big names in, then maybe people aren't going to be so interested in going to see it.
At the time, it goes under the radar.
Yeah.
And you find that with lots of things in the early 80s with the big, say, slasher trends after Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Films like The Burning, which are great and loved now, no one cared about at the time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because it just looked like everything else. And that, I think that's the only real problem with this film.
Yeah.
Is it just looks like so much at the time. And it kind of is...
On paper.
But it... There's nothing original in here, but it mixes so many things. So many different genres, the buddy cop, the sci-fi...
Horror
and action.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just loads. And it's just... While I want to talk about this opening scene, it goes on for a few minutes, very entertaining, but the end is a bit like, oh, this is an adult film, because literally drives into a guy in a wheelchair, and he goes flying up into the air, and it's not Naked Gun, so you sort of do chuckle at it, but it's not in a, oh, this is slapsticky. That guy gets hurt.
Yeah, it's to establish how the villain does not care at all, right?
Yeah.
So it's to say, we'll run over a disabled person, does not care, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They could have taken it more seriously. It does have a slight again. There's a lot of the kind of humour in the film where it is sort of. There's just a little tad bit of, hey, it's okay to laugh if you want to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Element to it, but it's not like, say, you know, a person getting hit and flying in the air going, wah! Or anything like that. It's a bit more serious.
No music.
No.
But there's a few scenes like early on what shows that the villain just doesn't care. Goes into a record shop and takes what he wants.
It's
the way he goes about, which is, I suppose, funny. In the
the way he speaks is sort of to say, "I want this," you know, very straightforward. I want this car.
Yeah.
You know?
So basically, it's an alien who takes over dead people, really, and lives them and just gets what he goes around taking what he wants.
So it's body snatchery kind of elements that are there. So going into or becoming somebody else to hide, as it is called, the hidden. hide who you are truly,
and to get what he wants. Eventually, he sees on TV he actually wants to become president, doesn't he?
He wants to rule the world, and I think that's the first step would be in that is to become the sort of leader of the country. But it's clear that that's what they want to do, is or at least this one alien, but you get the idea that there's probably lots of them. That's what they like to do. They like to go to other planets and basically take over.
Which is scary.
Indeed.
So very scary. But McLaughlin's character, the FBI agent, he's chasing him.
Yeah.
And you find out that he has killed his wife and child.
That's right, yeah. As well as his partner. So he's basically doing the same thing. Yeah.
But on the chase.
Yeah.
And he's
like an intergalactic cop in a way.
And he's rocked up as an FBI agent, which is great because he just shows up, no one questions it.
Yeah, that's how you vaguely can get away, I suppose, with that, with like no one questioning it. If you say, "Oh right, you're FBI," and you have he does have some identification on him, but still, I think the whole just still like going, not wanting to call a superior and going, "Hey, did you send this guy over?"
There is the bit he's like, "That's not my problem," when he introduces him, isn't it? There's words like that. He doesn't actually say that, but I think that's part of the fun of the film.
Absolutely. There's loads of corners cut, and that is also very much established with the way that the characters are, the cops are, that they're very much kind of almost loose cannons in a way that you could say, like very maverick type cops. There is again subtly sort of mentioned that LA at the time is going to shit, I guess, in general, and there's lots of problems all over the place, and crime is on the rise, and so even with this horrific thing that's going on, it's just sort of generally thought of as LA's a bit crap at the moment. So if you cops are going to behave in quite extreme ways. I really like that. There's a few cops in it, but my favourite was Sanchez. Yeah, Sanchez is very funny. Just doesn't seems to probably very good at his job, but seems to quite slack about the way he goes about like the protocol and all that.
Dicking about with a chainsaw.
Flamethrower.
Almost like
using racial slurs again. I mean, I suppose very common even today. So we're finding out that perhaps still very common in the police force. But sort of casual racism thrown around. That
is there, but it's kind of, to be honest, I didn't really notice, but it's one of those you don't, because when I watch a film like that, I go in the mode of it. And it's not in your face, right?
No, it's just like I say, it's just very casually said in the background kind of thing, just words just thrown around. Not much of it, but it's there, and it's there clearly to establish the kind of attitude of how they are.
Even little bits like the white guy missing, throwing the bit of paper in in the bin, and then Sanchez
just gets it in.
Because he's not white. So, but I mean, things like that I like in films, and if this film had been played really straight, I don't think it's the fun what stands out in this film and makes it what it is, and why I think it's so underrated. Like I say, I'm new to this film, very new to it, and I regret not seeing it when I was younger.
Me too. Because like I say, I didn't see it when I was young. I saw it, like 15 years ago for the first time, after wanting to see it since I was sort of like about 10.
Well, for me, I remember seeing the video cover about it, and it just didn't stand out to me. And I don't really know why. It just looked, I don't want to say boring, but there was always something else I'd rather.
But this is it. This is what we were just saying a little bit ago. There were so many of these types of movies that you would have just looked at the box of and gone, oh, it's another one of those, and there's no names on it, I know. So I'm not going to go for it. I mean, I remember when, around the time that I first saw it, thinking, right, well, Kyle MacLachlan really well, and this is one of his earlier films, and you also know that it's a very sort of sci-fi kind of film, and you like those kind of movies. So even if you don't watch too many, because I don't watch too many action like modern action films and stuff like that really anymore, and I watch more sci-fi type stuff. Just thinking, well, it's an 80s action movie. Why you should have seen it? Why haven't you?
I mean, I don't think it was on TV much when I was younger.
No, I don't.
Whereas we talk about like the Arnie films and things like they were shown regularly, very regularly, and also looking at the cover, and I'd seen the Blu-ray cover I've got, and I'd seen the DVD cover, and I don't remember like any ratings on it, like 5 stars or quotes saying it was good, which was a big selling point. I mean, they'd always find something, even if they'd just twisted it from a review. And I don't think this got bad reviews. I don't think it got particularly good ones, but I don't think anyone would give it a 1 or even 2 star.
No,
I think it done out review-wise okay.
Yeah, it was seemingly to be for the most part, as far as the critics concerned, very just like a middle scoring film.
Yeah,
by pretty much everybody. So again, those kind of movies just often go missing. And I think if this film was made at a slightly different time, maybe 5 years earlier, maybe if it was in the early 80s instead of the later 80s, it might have been looked at a little bit more favourably for more of a push. Yeah, from a marketing point of view, because I think probably people would have been like, I don't know if it's if it's much to sell here. Yeah. Like we might end up losing a hell of a lot more money if we really push it. Yeah. And so I think it was probably not, there wouldn't have been much of, as far as marketing was concerned with the movie.
I think if I was promoting it, I'd push it as Lethal Weapon meets The Thing. Mm-hmm. That's how I'd go. I mean, it's not, but do you see where I'd come from?
The reason why that people wouldn't do that, and I'm sure that was something that would have come up, people would have thought along those lines, but with like The Thing, which was a massive flop.
Yeah, I suppose it hadn't quite got to the cult.
Not at all.
Yeah, whereas now it's seen as and that was only 5 years before, so maybe if it came out 5 years later, they could have pushed it as The Thing. Yeah. But
I think the reason why you don't get any of those elements in like the trailer and stuff is because the idea of making that point, the sort of the sci-fi point, and especially the idea of either The Thing or Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of comparisons, is that it can be seen so gimmicky. Yeah. And that's the last thing you would want for this kind of film, because it would turn off so many people to think, I don't want to see a film where it's not really about the cops. Yeah. Because it is. But a lot of people would not really see it that way if you really pushed that element of the sci-fi. Yeah. I think.
I think if it was to get a reissue, that would be pushed. They'd probably recut a trailer to put some of the sci-fi bits in. Some of the special effects are great.
They are. They're very much of their time, and they look, if the kids watching this now would think it just looks really silly, because they are fairly cheap special effects, but they look great. Yeah. They look absolutely like of their time, and if you're into practical effects, they look wonderful, in that sense. But they do look, very much, they look effects. Like, they look very effecty, not very necessarily realistic. Yeah. But lovely in that sense of very,
But I do
see the work. You can see that the work that's been put into them, and that's great.
But I mean, even for a movie 35 years old, I think it looks higher budget than 5 million.
Yeah,
I not just the effects, but the action sequences.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's certainly, I would think, a lot more money spent on a lot of the car chases and making sure the streets are safe and all that kind of element. Because there's a lot of very serious stunts. Yeah.
Falling off buildings, and it doesn't look like a dummy. Mm-hmm. So Michael Winner hasn't been involved.
No Michael Winner involvement in this movie, so safe there.
It would have probably been even more sexist if he was. Which is something we should touch on.
Go into that, certainly.
I wouldn't say. I mean, women aren't represented particularly well. No, but there's not.
This is a boys' movie. This is clearly, for boys.
There's only 3 female characters I can really think of. Mm-hmm. One doesn't say much, which is her from Insidious and Something About Mary.
Oh yeah, so is Lynn Shay, who is one of the producers and the guy who runs New Line Cinema, which is who brought out the film, as sister.
Yeah.
So Robert Shea's sister, who is in a lot of his films.
Yeah, she's in loads. She's very, very funny. I think she's one of those actors who's bigger now than them. Does a lot of horror. I mentioned Insidious, but she's in loads.
Yeah. New Line. Just
is it still New Line? Is it? Does she do a bit of?
I'm sure she works. I'm just thinking this New Line. I know they've done a lot of other things, but I generally think of horror.
Because she was a teacher in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, she was a teacher.
I mean, I think New Line. I still think Nightmare on Elm Street because that's what.
Yeah,
of course. Of course. For me, that was the one.
Yeah.
And then we've got the wife of the main cop. Who I
don't think I've ever seen in anything else. I'm sure she has done other films, but I don't.
I feel that there's a character that, I mean, it's short, the film, and I get why, but she is just the wife of the cop. She'll ring up the station while you're not home. Looks after the daughter. Yeah. Cooks them their meal.
Yeah. There's two elements to her needing to be in the film.
Yeah.
For the plot. One, to establish that he has a home and it's a nice home, a family home, a loving home, and we need to be able to see that in order for the McLachlan, Kyle MacLachlan's character to do what he does in the finale. You know,
and to be honest, and there's the daughter as well. So there's four characters. The daughter is generic daughter. There's no character there. It's
looking very angelic and almost like she's an alien almost. And clearly, though never said, but clearly is through body language, we are told that she knows that he's not human.
Yeah, she also looks like she'd be looking at the TV. It's all fuzzy and going there, here.
It's very much Carol Ann kind of character. Yeah.
And then there's the stripper character who becomes the alien, played by
Claudia Christian
from Babylon
5.
But she's been in tons of stuff.
Loads and loads of things. I remember in a great little movie called Arena that was made by Empire Pictures, who made loads of great movies like Reanimator and such.
Yeah.
So that's where I first ever saw her, and I loved that film. So seeing her in this, playing a very different role than she does in Arena, where she plays more of a tough, a tough, strong woman who doesn't take no nonsense from any man. Got a lot of dialogue in. Doesn't really say much in this.
No, she's almost like a Terminator type.
Yeah, becomes the alien. So takes her body. But before that, she's just a stripper. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, you meet her on stage.
Yeah,
she's doing a little dance.
She is,
and then she's approached by the previous.
Yeah, the alien in man form.
Yeah, and it's like, go away.
Yeah,
and then the next, she's the alien really.
Yeah.
So there's not much for her.
No, there's no character development really, or understanding of who she was before she becomes the alien. So yeah,
but she's third billing in the. She'd been in a fair bit before this, I think, and it's so male heavy that I think they wanted to put a female actor further.
Absolutely, I think they wanted at least there to be one person that a female, a woman, to become the alien. Yeah. They wanted at least one of them to be that.
Yeah,
and she's great as the alien, as the killer. It's one of some of the best parts of the film are when she's attacking.
Yeah.
It's also an important plot establishment point where the cop first notices that something really fishy is going on, and maybe something not quite right is happening with these murders.
Yeah.
I
mean, the alien goes into several different vessels in the film. Which is your favourite one? Because I have two.
Well, probably the second one that we see, because
is that the one who goes into the car?
Yeah, I want this car.
Yeah, because he goes into the car showroom and basically demands the car.
Yes,
and then turns out the car salesman who ends up getting killed, like they all do, is a drug dealer and arms dealer.
The guy who was selling the guy he was selling the car to.
So that's why he's got the money, and that established how he gets so many weapons.
Yeah. goes back to his place.
The guy he's selling the car to, I think they're involved because they're literally sitting there doing cocaine.
Yeah.
Which is another. I mean, this is
very 80s.
An R-rated movie in America. I think it's still an 18 here.
No, it's 15 now.
But I can see why it was an 18.
Yes.
Because it's not that much swearing. The violence is there, but there's not a lot. But there's drug use, there's sex.
Yeah, as titillation and that kind of element to it. And there's a fair amount of swearing, not incredible amount, but a bit.
Yeah.
But certainly would probably still be 15. Drug use will generally get you over to an 18. But the violence there's a lot of squib work. There's lots of blood splatter.
Yeah.
So you could see why back in that time when it came out, people would have been
I mean, I think I can see why now it's 15. But but if it was still an 18, I'd be like, fine.
Yeah, it's a borderline 15, 18, definitely.
Yeah. And my other favourite vessel is Roy.
Yeah, well, of course.
Roy,
of course.
Once, is it straight after?
From the lady.
From the lady, yeah.
I think her name's. She actually is given a name. She's not just strip. It's Brenda.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
She falls from a rooftop. Where does it escape to? Roy the dog.
Who's
the police dog.
I think the lieutenant of the police department is his dog.
Yeah.
Who's just because he's just turned up from home.
Yeah.
And he's brought his dog with him.
Yeah, and
Roy
he goes into Roy, and Roy does well. The only person he kills is the policeman owner.
That's right. Yeah.
In a really good scene. I'm a bit worried they might have thrown the dog.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I don't think so. There's, people said that about a scene in The Lost Boys, actually. And I was like, no, we didn't. This is how we done it. It came up, and they're like, no, we wouldn't with this dog. Hurt people in the 80s films, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't care about that, but you don't hurt a dog.
Generally, no.
And
they're generally pretty good with animals.
And if you are watching, we are doing spoilers, but Roy does die, but off camera, so it's all around.
That's right. You don't. There's no dog deaths. I mean, we only assume Roy died because apparently, if this alien gets inside you, you do die.
Yeah.
So but we don't know for certain. Maybe it's different for dogs. Maybe canines still live. Who
exactly. Yeah, let's hope so. I assume yes. Yeah. We'll say that. Yes.
Okay.
Could do a little spin-off film where he just goes off as Roy and goes around killing people. That'd be nice. But that was cool. It's that nice. Proves it goes into different species. And
can go into anything. Basically living.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, there was at least one sequel, possibly two, to this, where I suppose they go off more and do more different things. But not the same cast. Really, probably made for video. The sequels.
As far as I'm aware,
I do want to watch them, but I don't think I'll like them.
I haven't seen them, so can't comment.
Yeah, and they're hard to get hold of now, anyway.
Yeah.
But I think we should discuss the ending.
Okay.
The final act, where there's
the very, very ending.
I think the presidential senator.
Right. Yeah. So there's the finale.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So. What were we going to say? What the building up to the flamethrower?
Yeah, because the flamethrower earlier on, we're like, what's going on? I actually said it doesn't come out, but it does.
It does. I mean, cause it's been a while since it's ridiculous of me to forget it because it's so it's so big and
clear. It's only a few weeks ago I watched it.
Yeah, and I mean I haven't seen it in a number of years, but I was like, I don't think it does. I think that's just a joke about like LA being full of weapons and things, which it was and probably still is. So it's another one of their very dry jokes where they're saying, "Hey, LA's bad. Hey, look at all these guns." But no, it comes up. The good alien. Uses the flamethrower as a way of coaxing the bad alien out of the body.
Yeah, the senator.
So by this point, he's taken over the body of the senator, which is the body he's wanted. Like that's the goal to get to this body. And so he's in it, and he's going to looking like he's going to give a speech or something along those lines of saying, "I want to be president." And everyone's just like, that's a really, not instead of thinking or saying, that's a really funny thing to say, they just start clapping. Like, yes, of course you do want to be president.
So you
should. Yes, exactly. So he's standing up there at the podium and Carl McLachlan comes through after being shot to pieces, by the way, by all the security, because he walks in with a flamethrower, just flames him up, just crisps him, it's great. The little alien comes out of the mouth of the roasted senator,
which is good because then they don't think that McLachlan's just randomly killed him.
Absolutely. So
saving grace for him.
This is it, right? So the point that we've got to now is, no one believes things, rightfully so, until they've got evidence. Now they have their evidence. There is the alien, and he uses his special alien weapon, which is earlier established that he can't use on the alien unless it's out of a body.
Yeah.
So it has to be outside of.
And it's just this metal thing, isn't it? It doesn't even look like a laser can come out of it, but it does.
Yeah, it's a very very Star Trek-y kind of looking phasery type weapon.
Yeah.
But yeah, just it looks like an ornament almost, like not something that you think has a little laser beam that does look like it's from the 60s Star Trek,
which is cool.
Great. Comes out and blows it up. Yeah. Very, very exciting, very dramatic.
But in all the shooting and stuff, the main cop, what's his name? Beck?
Thomas Beck.
Thomas Beck ends up getting shot and in hospital.
Yeah.
And this is the end, the controversial ending.
Yeah.
Which
might not have been thought of as controversial at the time, but I think nowadays, if it was made, not too sure they would have gone in this direction.
Well, we'll just come out of it. He's been McLachlan's character is he's on his deathbed, and he dies with the family outside, and McLachlan takes over the body. Yeah. And McLachlan's lost his family, and he's kind of looking at the family, kind of creepily.
Yeah, there's a scene earlier where he goes around the house, he's invited round for dinner, and he's standing in the daughter's room while the two parents are in there, so it's not just with the daughter, which would be very weird. But it's weird enough, just standing there looking like, just almost a sort of... The idea is, obviously, that he's, remembering his family and thinking, oh, yes, this is lovely to see, sort of thing. Yeah. I don't think at that point he was, having designs on how do I get inside this man? I mean, take over this family.
Yeah, I think it's what it's meant to be is okay. So Beck dies, and yes, he misses his family, but also he doesn't want
them to suffer.
Them to go without a father. So he takes over. So it's kind of everybody's happy apart from dead cop.
That's right. Yeah.
But it does come across as kind of weird and creepy.
It does. It could be seen, and I think rightfully so, as a bit, because it isn't. I mean, maybe he will at some point soon explain exactly what's happened. Yeah. But it does have that feeling that he's going to be, that he's like
going to lie and
pretend to be the dead cop.
And this is, I think. It's a while ago I read about it, but the second one, maybe the third, but one of the sequels is the little girl's grown up, and I think she's possibly even disowned him because she knows.
Well, this is it again. Like I say, it's not said, but we get the impression that she knows he is, and even at the end, when she looks at her father, you just have this idea that she knows that it's not really him, but she's going to go along with it because, she wants everything to be all right. You know?
So I think seeing the ratings and reviews of the sequels, it's like 1.5 or something out of 5 on Letterboxd and all that. But I think that would have been an interesting way to do a follow-up.
Absolutely.
But I don't think it was done well. I think it was rushed out and cheap. But it is something that I like, a film that's left open, and with that ending if it's a follow-up's done perfect, it could be, it has to be done well, but it could be done well. But also, it's nice to have that. Oh, that's how it ends. Almost chilling.
Absolutely, I like the ending very much because of that, because it does have this very ambiguous. Is this a good ending? Is this like a happy ending or not? Yeah, and that's great because none of the other films of this type are like that, right? Yeah. No other buddy cop film ends like that, but that element to it is the sci-fi element. That is very much because that is a very sci-fi ending.
That is, it's kind of
horror ending, sci-fi ending.
I don't know. I think it's scarier than everyone's going to die because it's like what. Do you know what I mean? Is that
makes you think what exactly how are we meant to feel about this?
Yeah,
and that's great. That's a really good way to end a story of this type.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to think that we'll hear anybody who's listening what their take on the ending is and how it sat with them.
Absolutely,
that's what I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Just a few more things we've covered quite a lot. I think this has really worked, watching it and then doing the podcast.
Yeah,
we don't normally do this.
Yeah.
But one thing we mentioned how the alien likes cool stuff and gets what he wants, and he wants this. Yeah. Wants a car and has it. Goes for it.
Very fancy car, so that likes to drive Ferraris.
Yeah, I mean,
likes rock and roll. This is heavy metal.
He likes cool stuff, so obviously he likes 80s metal. Right?
Yeah, 80s metal.
But the soundtrack in general, I mean, you mentioned at the beginning, is this Iron Maiden? It sounds like Iron Maiden, but it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not just the heavy rock stuff, but it's got some really cool 80s music in it. Nothing you'd recognise, but all sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That I think is great. The soundtrack, there's a Spotify playlist out there somewhere where someone's put together the soundtrack. I don't think you can get it anymore.
Right.
Check it out if you're into that. But the score is really interesting. You just comment during it.
The music cues, some elements of the film I find a little odd, and I think they're supposed to be jarring in that way, because I think we're supposed to feel very uneasy, which it does. The music is very sort of clinky, clanky, it's coming in and out, and it's very bombastic, so it's very loud and very in your face at moments where you think, well, why is that there? Why is that happening at this moment? And I'm pretty sure it's to make you feel uncomfortable and to sort of bring your anxiety levels up a bit, which it certainly does for me anyway. I really like that about it.
Yeah. And I think it also uses silence well.
Very much so. There's a lot of the time in the movie where there is no music. There's no music cues of any kind. And then all of a sudden there is something. There's this sort of bang, clank, boom sort of sound. It's really, it's good. It's really good.
And the way it's shot as well. I mean, one thing you said about is the sort of handheld stuff.
There was some handheld bits in the music shop which I thought were really good. Not very typical of this kind of film. Almost felt a bit like a documentary kind of thing, which was nice. To see in sort of crime scene, kind of thing. Camera following around sort of a bit. And I thought, that again brings the intensity level up, makes you feel a bit more like you're in the moment. Really, it's really happening. You're not step back. You're right over the shoulder of the cops. Yeah. It's nice. It was good.
More subtle NYPD Blue.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think one thing.
But that doesn't happen too much in the film. It's just a little bit.
Yeah, there's a bit. It's nice.
It's nice, yeah. They like to mix it up a bit with the sort of the styles in the film, which was good. Like I say, I think they took some risks in it. They didn't just film it in a very sort of just straightforward, lazy kind of let's not let's take the easy route out. They went for some I think Bob Shea probably was like, look, you do what you like, basically. Which is nice.
But I mean, it's what I like about this film is there's nothing bad in it. Do you know what I mean? There's because it's a bit cross genres and different things happening, and there's nothing stands out. When I say bad, I don't mean that as in dated or there's not a bad scene that sticks out like, I didn't need that, or that's just wrong. And the ending, although it's we say controversial, it isn't. It's a good ending. Yeah,
it works perfectly.
And you think about it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. When we say controversial, I don't mean it in a sort of they shouldn't have ended it like that. They should have absolutely ended it like that. It's the perfect ending for the type of film it is, and for the story and the plot and everything. It completely works perfectly. But it is an ending where you go, "Ooh, I don't know who the good guy is now."
And and the way the humour is, it could have ended with them two arm around each other, thumbs up.
That's where you think it might be going halfway through the film.
And it's just it's great. We haven't really mentioned the director.
No,
is it Jack Shoulder?
Yeah.
Who he'd done a horror which.
Alone in the Dark.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things.
Again, I'm exactly the same. One of those movies that I've wanted to see for many years, and is always there sitting around where I go, I'll watch that soon, and then I haven't. So it's one I definitely got to see. But he did the Freddy movie, the second Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Revenge, which is over the years got more and more and more seen as one of the better ones. Though still a lot of people don't consider it that, but it is the one with a lot of gay subtext in. Which gets talked about a lot nowadays.
Yeah. And him himself said that's more down to the lead actor than him. Yeah. But I don't believe that. I think it's intentional.
Yeah. Well, the writer, who isn't Jack Shoulder, he's come out and said, that was absolutely, it's all there. Yeah. But I couldn't make a movie where it was clear at the time. Yeah. But that's all the subtext is there, purposely there.
Yeah. There's a documentary about that film. I can't think what it's called. I've just come out or coming out that the actor has made himself. All about the undertones and why it was made like that. Yeah. And I think Shoulder's probably just like, well, it is there, but that's not what I was doing. But,
I think that I can understand.
I don't think he's been like anti-gay.
No, at all.
I think he's more like, well, I made it as a horror film.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what I was employed to do.
Yeah.
And he's probably a bit like, because it was for years seen as one of the worst. I like it, but I don't think it's one of the best ones. Mainly for different reasons, because like Freddy breaks the rules, he comes out of the dream in it.
Yeah.
So things about it I don't like, but there's some great. It's a good one. It's a good film.
Yeah.
I think. But also he breaks the rules or whatever. But those rules were more established later.
That's right.
So it's kind of the Freddy franchise. If that had been a bigger hit, could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
But it didn't ruin the franchise. In fact, Wes Craven came back for the next one and
then this is it. I mean, Robert Shea would have been like, look, Freddy still has life in him. We should continue making the story, because again, the second one was moving away from the original story. It was doing a completely different story, which I think for a lot of people weren't happy with. So it was like, we'll get Wes Craven back and we'll tie in the third film with the first film.
I've always thought that the second one was, in a way, rushed.
Yeah, it was.
And then the third one should have been the second one.
Yeah, I mean, it came out,
a year later?
Not even a year. So...
so exactly. But then he done a film, another one I've never seen, 1989, Renegades, which was the legend that is Lou Diamond Phillips and Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah. Done a buddy cop film.
I, again, have not seen it, but I know of the film very much. Yeah.
And he's done loads of TV work, sort of smaller films, episodes of Tales from the Crypt, the Tremors series in 2003 done, and Wishmaster 2. Yeah,
have you seen that? Because you like Wishmaster.
I like Wishmaster. That's Wishmaster film that, when it first came out, I saw in the cinema and thought it was alright. I've grown to really like it, mainly for the effects and just who's in it. It's a nice 90-minute, it's Aladdin gone wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or wronger. I think it's cool. The second one, they made a few of them. The second one's meant to be the best of the sequels.
Oh, well, there we go.
But it still doesn't mean it's good. But yeah, I think he's become just a working director.
Yeah, I think
because quite often you look at these directors who made big films and then they've done episodes of TV. It doesn't mean it means that they're working. Yeah, it's their job. Like Joe Dante, who I think is a great director. Directs episodes of TV shows every now and then. It's money,
still doing it.
It's his job. If you enjoy working, don't imagine he needs to work.
No, I wouldn't have. Well, I wouldn't have thought so.
I don't know, but I imagine he wouldn't. But he
spend all his money on something,
and it's a job where he doesn't have to spend years doing it.
Indeed,
which is kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Right, we've got to like 45 minutes. I'm going to ask your rating out of 5 for this.
Could we just say that Danny Trejo's in it?
Very briefly, in prison.
Yeah. It does a lot, yeah. He's got a line in it and everything.
One of the reviews on Letterboxd was simply, I blinked and there he was.
And then he wasn't anymore.
He's great anyway.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, so
that must be a fairly early one for him.
Yeah. I think he'd been doing working as like extra and stuff in the 70s and things like that.
Well, he's a consultant for things as well, wasn't he?
But in this one, he does have. It's an early one, I think, for him having a line. Yeah. And and being very much like, right, he's on the camera, and I'm sure some people go, even then would have been like, I've seen that guy before. Yeah.
Have you seen? I think it's the latest Muppets film in prison. There's a scene where they go to prison, and Danny Trejo's in there as himself, and they call him Danny Trejo.
There we go. There you go.
Which is great. Yeah. He's cool, and I like how he's made himself a great career from basically being in prison,
being himself, and being not being sort of. What was the word to say? Not being embarrassed, I suppose, for his shady past.
Yeah, and redeemed.
Redeemed indeed. Yeah.
Exactly. So out of 5.
Oh, it's definitely. I mean, I don't give 5s generally, but it's a 4. It's a 4.5, definitely. Yeah. It's up there.
So it's a 9 out of 10.
It's definitely a 9 out. It's definitely a 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
of its time, the type of film it is. It's one of the best. It is certainly one of the best, in my opinion.
Well, I'm so glad this is the first one of this for this new series where I'm watching the film for the first time, and I'm going to give it a 5. It's so rare to watch a film from that era that I haven't grown up with and to like this much.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you said at the beginning.
I don't even think it's ever happened to me before where I've watched a film that I should have watched many years ago and liked it on the levels that I would have as a kid.
Yeah. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining me for this. Get thinking of more films. If you can find another one like that.
I don't think there's many like that.
I think we might have peaked.
Peaked really early. This is the top. This is the top level.
We might be the Police Academy 1 of this series. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll be chatting with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Very soon.
Okay.
Big thanks also to all of you for listening. Don't forget to find us on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook. There is a Twitter, there is a letterboxd, but Instagram and Facebook are the main ways to contact us. Let us know your thoughts on this film, any ideas, films you'd like us to talk about in the future. If you want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome. Let me know. Send films my way. I'll watch them. I'll watch them with you if you want, and we'll chat about them. Films that you think underrated should be the classics. They are often not. And that's ACM's Vault of Cult. Type it in on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll find us. Hopefully, I'll have another Halloween-based episode up before Halloween. Things are getting really busy at the minute, but I'll do my very best. Got some ideas of a few things I want to do for that, and some people have come to me already with films that we are going to do. Hopefully The Explorers will be coming up very soon, a movie I've not seen all the way through. I don't remember anything about it, but I think I've seen bits of it when I was younger, but I'm doing it anyway. It's one I want to sit down and watch properly. If you're up for any other podcasts to listen to, don't forget there's the King Street Cinema podcast, which I'm working on for that great cinema in Ipswich. The last episode of that was mainly about the Lost Boys, but we mention or talk about The Thing and the Rocky Horror Picture Show as well. Guests on that include the guys from The Real Horror Show, another podcast that you should definitely check out if you're into the horror side of things. That's Real REEL Horror Show. It's great guys, and they talk about loads of stuff on their pod. Definitely give it a listen. And I'll be back with another episode soon. Thank you all very much.